Brought to you from Melbourne, Australia, this is the Badminton Podcast, a community for badminton players by badminton players, where we talk badminton, celebrate local heroes, interview players from all walks of life, and push you to grow as a player and a person. Introducing your hosts, Jeff and Henry.
Hello, badminton community, and welcome to another episode of the Badminton Podcast. Whether you're a regular listener or this is the first episode you've listened to, we just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Jeff.
And I'm Henry.
We're the co-founders of Volant, the sponsors of the Badminton Podcast, and the brand that gives badminton players an alternative to the unsightly conventional badminton wear so that they feel good, they feel confident and stylish anywhere that they go. In short, we make gear that makes you look good on and off the court. We're also here to bring the badminton community together so that we can share the love of our sport with each other and the world as well. So make sure you check us out and shop at www.volantwear.com. There are lots of free resources on the website as well that can help you with your game and your life. You can also follow us on our social media. The handle is Volantwear, VOLANTWEAR. We're really excited because we have another professional international player as a guest on today's podcast. So Henry, you're up.
Thanks, Jeff. Our guest today is the first ever male badminton player from Mexico to compete in the Olympic Games. He's 29 years old, the 5-time national champion in Mexico in men's singles, and a Pan-American bronze medalist who is currently ranked 66th in the world.
Really trust the process and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try new things. It could be also a bad experience, but whenever it's a good experience, it will stay with you also forever. I would say that to myself, and if there's a kid playing badminton or listening to this, I would tell them to go big, to follow their dreams, and also to not be too cautious about it. We only have one life, and then we should be cautious, but try to risk a lot of things.
His name is Lino Munoz, I believe. Welcome to the show, Lino.
Hi, Henry. Hi, Jeff. It's a pleasure being part of your podcast. I was really excited when I got the notice. It's an honor to be here with you, and also want to thank you for sharing the love for badminton, to give players another opportunity to express themselves. And so it's nice to be here.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to this podcast, Lino. And just for the audience there, just in case Henry didn't pronounce your name correctly, how do you pronounce your full name?
Yeah, it's quite difficult, but my name is Lino Munoz Mandujano.
Mandujano.
Yeah.
I missed a word.
Now we carry our dad's last name, our mom's last name. People also from Spain do it, and people from South America. Everyone has 2 last names.
Oh, wow.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Now, Lino, you are currently based in Denmark for your training, but you're currently in Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now in terms of your training before and during the coronavirus?
Yeah, well, I was based in Denmark at the Center of Excellence. Actually, I got a scholarship from Badminton Panam. There's certain spots for players from each confederation to be at the Center of Excellence. I was there last year for 2 months just to give it a try. And I really liked it, like the system, the coaches, the players. It's known that Denmark is one of the best countries for badminton. What I really, really like is that all the coaches have really a good mindset of working together, of performing well. Everything is organized, and you can really feel how everyone's pushing each other every day. And that's something I really, really liked. And I spoke to my confederation about it, if I could stay longer. Since I was doing okay with the Olympic qualification, they granted me with more time over there. So I was training there since last September. I've been there for a while, and if I qualified, I was gonna do all my preparations for the Olympics over there.
Fantastic. We spoke to Kestis, one of the coaches there at the Centre of Excellence, and it does sound like a really great system that they've got there. So, Lino, if we do rewind to basically your badminton story and how you got started, being from Mexico, where badminton isn't the most dominant sport, definitely, and although it is getting more popular there, namely because of you, which we're going to discuss later, but why badminton? Why did you choose badminton and how did it evolve from there?
Yeah, it's something they always ask me. I mean, I still also ask myself why. My family also asks, why did I chose badminton instead for any other sport? Like the national sport is soccer, football. I don't know how you guys call it, but it's the main sport and people are crazy about it. And to be honest, I got into badminton because I am a member of a club and I started doing swimming, then a little bit of karate. Then I went up to the badminton courts and I saw a bunch of kids playing and having fun. And that was basically why I told my parents that I wanted to try. I got a racket from the sports shop downstairs, and then the next day I was having my first lesson. But to be honest, I really liked the game, but at that time, I just saw a bunch of kids having fun, and that's why I got into badminton. As the time kept passing, I enjoyed the game more, and also one of the things that really captured me was the national team of Mexico at that time was training at that club. So I would have my training session, and then later the national team would come and train. And one of the things that I really like is the speed, the way they move, the way they hit the shuttle. I remember I stood there for like 1 hour just watching them and how they were playing. And eventually, after like a couple months, I dropped out of swimming and karate, and I took badminton more seriously. I was training 3 times a day. I was 8 years old at the time. And then from there, my love for the sport started to grow. And yeah, I made it my life when I was like around 15.
It's crazy. I think, at 8 years old, training 3 times a day, you must be so passionate about the sport to be able to do that.
Yeah. It was, sorry. I made a mistake. It was 3 times a week. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's ridiculous.
I was thinking, how do you do 3 times a day? Do you go in your school lunchtime or something?
No. So since I was practicing also karate and swimming, I was every day at the club after school. But Monday and Tuesday I had swimming, and then Tuesday and Thursday I had badminton and stuff. So it first started like 3 times a week, and then after a while I just decided to stop the other sports and stick to badminton, and I would do it every day. I would go to school from 7 to 2 p.m. and then I remember my grandma used to take me to the club, and then I would stay there from 4 until like 6, and then I would stay to watch the national team train. I would do homework, I would shower, and then my parents would pick me up around 9 p.m. I would go home, have some dinner if I had homework, and then sleep around 10, something like that.
You would actually stay at the hall and shower and do your homework and then watch the national team play.
Yeah. Basically, that was my whole day. I was actually really, really excited about the time after my training to watch them play. Because when you're a kid, I don't know, something captured your eyes, just like you can just stay there and stare. For me, it was that feeling. At that moment, I didn't think, I want to become a professional badminton player. I was just excited to see them play and like the way they moved and like the way they trained also. They used to have a Grand Prix a few years ago in Mexico. I remember that I had 1 year of training, and I remember that Ardi Wiranata came to my club to train. He wasn't at his best, but he was still like really, really a good player, and like a bunch of other players came and like the club was packed. So in that moment, I decided I want to be part of the badminton world. I want to play these tournaments. And Ardi was one of my idols at that moment.
Mm.
Yeah, wow. It would have been really rewarding to be able to be exposed to such high-level players at such a young age. And I'm sure that really helped, give you an idea of what real badminton is. Because I guess a lot of people, especially in countries like ours, Australia or United States, they just don't get exposed to what real badminton is. And their idea of it is very different to what you would have seen at such a young age.
Yeah, tell me about it. I remember I used to go with my racket bag. I don't know if I took the subway or the taxi, and then people would be like, "Oh, you're a tennis player," and I was no, I play badminton. And then back then it was like, what is badminton? I mean, people more or less have the notion of what is badminton now, but like, I don't know, I'm talking about like 20 years ago, people would ask me like, what is that? And then at one point I was just really tired of just explaining that. I would say, yeah, I play tennis. So I would
just easier, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit tiring because
you just use a customized racket to play tennis. It's just a much thinner version.
yeah. Every day it was something like, "Oh, you play tennis?" "Yeah, I play tennis," It was better.
And Lino, I think what Henry said is really true, that when you are able to be exposed to those top players at a young age and you really do see what the sport is about, then you grow a love for the sport. And I think in countries who don't have badminton as such a high profile sport, that's the main thing. If we can get more people or younger kids being able to see and be exposed to the top players, and they look at it and say, whoa, it's so fast, it's so powerful, and all of those things, I think that a lot more people will fall in love with the sport. But like you said, it's like in Mexico, people always just grow up watching soccer or football, right? And that's what brings that passion into them as to why they love those sports.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whenever you see some of the best players or some of the best athletes doing what they do, it just looks so easy, and also it's like impressive. I think, if somehow the countries get more involved with badminton and some of the biggest or the bigger tournaments are played all over the world, for sure people will see how badminton is an incredible sport. I also have the feeling whenever you're looking at it on TV or on the computer, the video doesn't make justice about the sport. I think it just looks so easy in some ways. And actually, like whenever All England is going on and stuff, and you're watching it on the computer, and obviously you know about the sport and how fast it is, but then for people that haven't seen it, it looks like, I remember one of my friends say like, but it looks like they're walking. And I'm like, yeah, but it's like, actually this is so fast. They look like they're walking because of their footwear is so good, I think they need to see it with their eyes, and for sure everyone gets their mind blown. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's one of the things with badminton on TV, that I wrote a blog post about it and all the reasons why it doesn't look as good on TV than in person. And for someone who's not really aware of badminton, they don't understand. But when we watch badminton, we know how fast they're going. I think it's just one of those things. I think technology is getting a lot better in badminton. Like we've got the challenge system now, but I feel that there needs to be a few different angles or something to capture a bit more of the speed.
No, definitely. There's a few captures, a few scenes where you can see a little bit more of how the sport is being played and about the speed. And also, like you said, this challenge, I think it's really good for the sport because it gives a little bit of like drama and stuff. And, some of like whenever the match is really, really close, and then this hawk eye is taking the decision of the match, then I think it's really, really exciting. And also badminton is involving in this matter, which is really good for our sport.
Yeah, and it sort of increases the intensity when you see someone go for the Hawkeye, and then the crowd starts clapping slowly. It's really exciting to watch compared to when we never really had that system, and you just you get the umpire's decision and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those times where, I don't play in like all the tournaments where they have Hawkeye, but sometimes it's really frustrating when, everyone makes mistakes, right? The umpires and the line judges, they can make mistakes, right? But it's like whenever you're like really, really close in a match, when it's like tied like 19 or like 2019, and then like, I don't know, there's a really close call, but obviously you always try to look at the calls from your side. But then whenever you're like confident it was in or out, and then the umpire or the line just calls it the other way, it's just like super, super frustrating. But it's also part of the sport. You have to deal with these things, and you have to know that sometimes you can win or lose a match from that. But I think it's part of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that frustration because I've been in those situations myself. And I think this is going off on a tangent a little bit, but I remember when I watched certain sports, let's just say I'm watching badminton, I'm watching tennis, and a player gets very angry at a line call because it doesn't seem to right in their eyes. And it's a very important part of the match, like 18-all, 19-all, even 17-all, something that's really important in the third set. And then they get angry. They, like, if they break a racket or throw their racket or yell at the umpire or something. And a lot of people will say to me, why don't they have any self-control? Like, that's not good sportsmanship. And I understand where they're coming from. But until you're actually in that position where you are losing that call or losing that point because of a call that you think is wrong, and it is 18-all in the third set, then it is so hard to, while your adrenaline is pumping and while everything is going on around you and the emotions are really high, it's so hard to be able to say, oh, that's okay, I'll keep going. It's so frustrating. And for someone watching and haven't been in that position before, it's really hard to explain how that really boils your blood and how hard it is to take control in those situations. And you see that in some of even the best players in the world in any sport, where generally they're cool, calm and collected, but when something like that happens, then it is really emotional. And Lino, have you been in many of those situations before?
What you were saying, that actually you described it very, very nice. I think every player has been in those situations of immense tension where the match is really, really close and a line call, or I don't know, even the lights or something, and you hit the shot wrong, or I don't know, any situation it could get out of hand. I'm not going to say that I support the players that they show a lack of respect, or like they throw the racket or they do something that they shouldn't do. But it's a really, really hard and tough moment at that time. But I think that everyone as a player, even as an umpire, as a coach, we have responsibilities. You never know who's watching, like you said, like there's people, there's obviously a bunch of kids watching you play, and maybe for them, you are an idol, and kids copy whatever they see on like their idols and their adults. So I think we really have to take care of these situations, because the kids are the future. And in my case, I've never been really a player that explodes on these moments. I've obviously had those frustrations, I guess, but I've gotten a few yellow cards in my career just from like, I don't know, maybe I lost a point and like I threw my racket into the air and I got a yellow card for that. Or I remember I was playing the team championships the other day in February for the qualifier of Thomas Cup. And I remember the courts were so slippery, really. You could not even play in those courts. And the referee couldn't do much about it because we were getting late and that match needed to be played. But actually, the players were really scared about playing in those courts because it was really, really slippery. I was playing against Igor from Brazil in the first match of the tie between Mexico and Brazil. And I remember like we were just trying to play like really, really careful. And like it was not a really good show, but we were obviously thinking about qualification, about Olympics and stuff. And just to get injured about maybe a match that it was important, but it was not the end of the world. We were just playing sort of like very cautiously. And I remember that I slept like 3 times. I tried to do a jump smash and then I landed on one of my foots just slipped and I got a little bit injured. I remember I kicked one of the, those banners that are with advertising or something. And I got a yellow card for that. And I was really, really frustrated, but not with the match, just with the conditions that I couldn't even play. And I got a yellow card. I remember that was a few months ago. But just to close this question, I think that players must really, really take care of their emotions because of the environment that is watching them, and to set an example for the kids.
Yeah, I can sense the amount of frustration that you were feeling at the time, Lino. And I'm sure many athletes go through that same frustration. But it is important to remember that for a lot of athletes, they act as role models for a lot of younger badminton players or aspiring badminton players. So it's important to ensure that they keep themselves in check when they're on court, which it's hard because there's a lot of other elements when you're playing the sport, and when you do have that adrenaline rushing through you, it's very, very difficult. I know I haven't played on a competitive level like you and Jeff have, but I still get that sense of frustration when I do play some of the smaller competitions at a state level, and you get a call that's just not in your favour. Now, Lino, moving back to where your badminton journey, and you talked about that you started to take things more seriously when you were about 15 years old. Was that when you joined the national team? And what happened after that?
Yeah, no, I joined the national team when I was around 17. But when I was 15, I was junior national champion. I've been to a couple of Pan American junior championships. And I really, really liked all the atmosphere about the competition. I won a gold medal in mixed doubles at that time. And I was always been a singles player, but when I was a junior, I did way better in doubles and mix. In Pan America, almost all the players, when they're kids, they play all three events. Only Canada and US are their players. They're specialized in doubles and mix. But from Mexico down, everyone starts playing the three events, and you're trying to win any medal in any discipline. But I remember, obviously, Canada has always been the number one country in Pan America and also the US. I remember that I think it was my second Pan Am Championships. I came back. I was a little bit sad about my performance. And that's when I talked to my coach, and he said that if I wanted to reach those levels and stuff, I would have to do something different, because otherwise I was not going to get to that level. So I started to train to sacrifice my vacation during the school period. Instead of going, on vacation, I was staying home and practicing with the coach for those 2 months straight, practicing morning in the afternoon. And then from there, I decided to make it my life. And after that, when I was 17, I moved to Canada. I moved to Calgary. There was an international badminton training center there. And Ardi Wiranela was the head coach of this. So me and another guy from Mexico, we moved there. And we studied our first year of high school there, and I got to train with Artie and a bunch of the best Canadian junior players over there. I also was sometimes sparring with William Milroy and Bobby Milroy, some of the big names in Canada, which was also really, really inspiring for me, just to be able to even hit with them or like feed them for multi-shuttle or something. It was really, really another experience. And from that, I think it was a turnover for me in terms of badminton. I completely, the way of training, the way of seeing badminton changed my life. I mean, I was talking to Ardi every day, asking questions about like, how do you become a silver medalist at the Olympics? How do you become the player you are? And like whenever one of these big names tells you the way they did it, and then you get to see them and to treat them every day, you sort of like put them down to earth, like you can see that the road to success, it's not only a dream or it's only a fantasy, but it's just pure of hard work and obviously a lot of sacrifice. And from that point, my badminton and the way I saw badminton changed. And then after that, I moved to Malaysia for like 8 months. And it was the first time I've been in Asia. And it's another level, training Canada and then going to Asia is just completely different. I was 17 around that time, and then playing in training twice a day. And then with one of the best, seeing the best juniors from Asia in training and being there. And then sometimes I remember when I was in Malaysia, we would do track on Saturday and with the national team. I mean, not at the same time with them, but we would be there after or before. And I remember the one time I was 17 and Lee Chong-wei was doing sprints. And my coach, he used to be Lee Chong-wei's partner when he was younger. And Lee Chong-wei was running sprints by himself. So he said, like, he asked him if he needed some like sparring for running. So me and another like 3 players, we were doing sprints with Lee Chong-wei, and like I was over the moon with this. I was like, I am running sprints with Lee Chong-wei when I was like 17. A guy from Mexico, like took pictures with him, and then like I just told my coach, send my pictures to my mom, to my friends back home, and it was a really, really nice moment at that time.
Yeah. How were the sprints? Were they hard? Do you remember how hard they were?
Yeah, we were doing 400 meter sprints, and I think it was like a sort of like a pyramid. We were doing first like 200, then 400, 600, 800, and then down. And like Legion Way was doing them, but like we were doing it faster because I guess at that point, Legion Way, he must have been around 28 or something, I believe. I mean, he was not like really, really young, but not old, but obviously he was not running like 110%. And we were just like so motivated that we were running with him that we would just sprint the whole way. And yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Who were you training with in Malaysia?
I was training at it's called New Vision Badminton Academy with Yogendran Krishna.
Okay, yep. Yogendran, yep. Okay, great.
Yeah. He really, I'm really thankful with him. He taught me a lot, actually, of like how badminton is being played these days. And yeah, he's been doing good with his academy, and it's a really, really good place to be.
Fantastic. Now, if you look back at all of the training you've been doing in all the different countries around the world and all of the tournaments and competitions you've competed in, to date, what would you say would be the most fondest memory or the best moment in your career so far?
Well, the best moment is easy. Like whenever I qualified for the Olympic Games was the best moment of my life, because I mean, since I was a kid, whenever you watch the Olympic Games, and then I remember I have this picture of whenever it's the opening ceremony, and then you see your team, your countrymen, your teammates going into the stadium, and then they say, I don't know, your country's name, right? It's just a feeling that I don't know how to describe it. You know, it's just like whenever you're looking at it on TV, and then you see, you know, the Australian athletes going into the stadium, or in this case, Mexican athletes going into the stadium, and then like all the world is like watching, and you know, like the best athletes are there, and then you are in the sort of like the same level with them. You know, you can see a lot of the, I don't know, biggest names around you and stuff. It's something that I cannot really describe, but yeah, I would say it's like my miracle. I really worked hard for it, because obviously it's not easy to make the Olympics, especially coming from a country like Mexico, where there's not like a lot of funding or a lot of good training or sparrings or a good setup back home. So it is, yeah, for me, that's the biggest moment and the happiest one.
Definitely. And now moving on to what the badminton scene is like in Mexico. You were just saying, yeah, it's not the most popular sport. There's not a lot of training there, funding wise as well. How is badminton in Mexico? And I know that you said that it has grown over the last 10 or so years, but how do you see it moving forwards? And what do you think the reason is that it started to grow?
For sure, it's been growing for the past 10 years, I would say exponentially. I would say that because of the good results that all the players have made over the years. I remember like the first girl to qualify to the Olympic Games was in Beijing. And from that moment, we've always had athletes competing at the Olympics in badminton. You know, in 2008, a girl named Deyanira Angulo, who was actually living in Australia right now. She qualified being 17 years old. Then 4 years later, another girl called Victoria Montero also qualified. And then in 2016, I made it. So we'd always had athletes competing at the Olympics. And obviously that's whenever the Olympics come around, all the media and stuff try to cover as much of the athletes competing in the games. So I think badminton has the spotlight a little bit. But I think it's a step forward that we've been always competing at these major events, and also not the Olympics, but also Pan American Games and Central American Games, where there's a huge media impact, because it's like sort of like Commonwealth Games also, where there's all the sports playing, and there's like a village, and there's like opening ceremony and stuff. And we've been getting medals in those events. So obviously we get a little bit of attention. So I think it's been growing. And also when I was younger, the national team, the older players, they retired when they were around 22, 21, because the conditions were not good for them. They had to work, they had to study, and they had to play badminton and to compete and to pay their expenses to play. So obviously they it was too much for them and they had to retire at a very young age. And I think in this case we somehow have find a new ways to keep competing and like studying. Obviously, in my case, I haven't had to have a job or to stop badminton to get money and stuff for work or something. But I think that's one of the big reasons.
Yeah, and it's one of the big struggles for some of the less badminton dominant countries where professional players are almost forced to stop playing professionally because they'd have to support themselves. And, you know, they can't do it 100% because they need to do 50% work or whatever it might be to support themselves at the same time. Now, speaking of Spotlight, Lino, you recently mentioned to us that you were on a sports TV show, which was on TV during prime time every day from Monday to Friday. Was that before or after your Olympic debut?
Yeah, no, that was after my Olympic journey. Actually, I got into the sports TV show because I went to the Olympic Games. And maybe it's wrong to say it, but because of that TV show, I got a lot of more funding and like more of the sponsors and actually I got a lot of more followers and stuff. And like you said, you know, this TV show was being shown every day from Monday to Friday from 7 to 10 p.m. A lot, like millions. Is one of the, I think it's like the second most seen TV show in Mexico City, talking about a country.
It's crazy.
Talking about a country that there's 130 million people. And that TV show being shown at that time, obviously, it's a huge window for any athlete of any sport. And in this case, badminton was given, and I wouldn't say it because of me, because if any athlete of Mexico would have been in that show, badminton got a window of so many people knowing the sports and asking about it, being also in touch of the other athletes and stuff. So for sure, that was a huge opportunity for badminton. And I was there not for long. I was there for around 3 weeks. But then another girl was there for 6 months. Actually, she just came out of the show a few months ago. And after me, and now we get a lot of people asking us about where can they train, how is badminton, like they are asking us about our plans for the future and stuff. And like, one of the things that I really like is that they know already about the sport, or they at least Google it or something like that. So actually, it was not because of the federation of like the sports minister. It was because of this TV show that I think has given badminton another dimension.
What was the TV show name?
Exathlon.
Okay.
That was the name of the TV show. And basically the TV show is like, there's two teams, and one is a red team and there's a blue team. And there's like 10 athletes of different sports. You know, you could be like, in the red team, all the athletes are like sort of like famous, or they are world champions, or they have been to the Olympics, or they are Pan American medalists, or they're like people that are the best at their sports. And then in the blue team, there's people that they do high performance training, but they haven't been in the national team, or they want to be in the national team and stuff. So basically, it's like two opposites of a coin, and people sometimes say like, my team is the red team, or my team is the blue team. So basically what you have to do in this TV show is there's like a circuit where you have to like run and then like climb and
okay. Like, yeah.
Sort of like, I would say, I don't know if you've seen Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say as hardcore as that, obviously, but just for you to get the idea. So you have to do a race. So you choose an opponent, and then you do sort of like this circuit. And then at the end of the circuit, you have to throw a ball into some blocks, or like shoot a basket, or like there's so many things you have to. And then whenever you win the race, you win 1 point for your team.
Okay. Yeah. And how did you stay on for 3 weeks? And how did the other badminton players stay on for 6 months?
Yeah, well, actually, I was being told that I was going to enter the TV show at the beginning. But then, I don't know, because of some other reasons that they didn't tell me, I entered the show when it was been filmed for like 4 months. So the other athletes were there for 4 months already. I got into the show. Everything was new for me. It took me a little bit of time to get used to the circuits and stuff like that. So I only last for like 3 weeks because I didn't have any much experience about it. And then my friend, the other girl who was at the TV show, she entered like within a few weeks with the show that had started. And she really did good. I mean, she stayed there until the very end. I think she got like 5th or 6th place.
Oh, wow.
It was good for her, actually. And now she has become an influencer. And right now she's doing like campaigns with different companies and stuff. And she's getting money. And what she's going to do with it is she's going to try for the next Olympics. She's going to prepare for that because she didn't have any support for the past Olympic circuit. Nobody was going to support her, not the federation or the club. So, and you know that to do an Olympic tour, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah, that's fantastic that you got that kind of exposure and you can get some funding and some sponsors out of it. Now, just a question about the game show, because it's quite interesting for me. Who usually won? Was it usually the red team of the athletes who have been to the Olympics, Pan Am Games, etc., or was it more the high performance athletes who haven't quite made it yet?
It was more or less the same. Also, the TV, nothing was fixed. I can tell you that because I was there. But sort of like the producers will know in like what throw or ending the teams will be better at. So sort of like they would say, like, okay, today we will do this circuit where the red team is, I mean, they always been better because of the time that we've been here. And then, I don't know, we will add this ending where the blue team is better. So they would play with these things, but I mean, it was not fixed, but they would play with these things. So sometimes it would be like the blue team or then the red team. And also, I mean, the TV needs that like sort of like drama, you know, it could not be that one team would always win because, I mean, nobody would really watch it. So the athletes, they would sort of like try to split them into sort of like, let's say like equal team.
Yeah, it sounds like the producers try to give each side a bit of a balance by giving them a competitive edge in certain types of events. Is that right, Lino?
Yeah, exactly. They would make both teams sort of like balance, so no one team would always win or the other team would win. But it was actually a really fun experience. I would say I don't regret anything. It was nice to see how they make the TV show and like how to be part of the other side of the screen, I guess. Also, I mean, you needed to have some, not acting classes, but you will have to perform some speeches and stuff. And I mean, it was fun. It was a little bit of part of my life, and it was really fun.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it was a lot of fun. And I guess the benefit from that is not only that you had a lot of fun on the TV show and you got to do some cool circuits and meet some great athletes and great people while you were at it, but you were able to get some sponsors, which has helped you on your Olympic journey to Tokyo 2020 and now 2021, the Olympic Games there. So how are you going in terms of the sponsors and how you're training, and what's your take, or how are you going in terms of the change in date for 12 months later for the Olympic Games?
Yeah, I mean, just to add a little bit on that, I think that this TV show like really helped us out, and like we really enter that to get, maybe it's a little bit wrong to say, but like nowadays, whenever a company, if you got a company to ask for funding and stuff, they sort of a lot of times ask like, how many followers do you have? You know, maybe you are the world champion or whatever, but then sometimes like people that have like followers and stuff, they get the funding and stuff. And it's really wrong to say about it, because when I came out of the TV show, I got some sponsors and with that I could fund my Olympic journey. I mean, I also had a little bit of help from my club, and I play for a club in Spain also. So I was just taking a little bit of, I don't know, from here and there to pay for my expenses, my travel expenses. And also like the Pan Am Confederation helped me out with my stay in Denmark. But like, for example, I have a scholarship from my government that they pay me a certain amount of money every month. And with that, I would pay for my tournaments and for my Olympic qualification. I mean, I can say that it's just like a lot of money. But with that, it was enough for me to play those tournaments. I played around 16 tournaments in the Olympic qualification, which is, I think, quite a lot. But everything has been going okay at the moment. So I think that I need another 2 results and I should be okay for the Olympics.
Yeah, Lino, and how was your journey going before that the tournaments were actually suspended?
It was going good, actually. On the Olympic qualification race, I am number 30 at the moment, I believe. And there's 34 spots or 37, depends on the wildcards the BWF gives. But I think if I sustain that position or if I maybe go up a little bit, like 2 spots, I should be okay to make it to Tokyo. I'm actually a little bit concerned of what the BWF is going to do now that everything there, all the tournaments were suspended. I don't think they will start another qualification due to that a lot of players cannot train at the moment, and to make another qualification, it will be very expensive for everyone. And due to also the economic crisis, I don't know how would players cope with these things. And I'm a little bit worried about that, but I don't think they will redo the qualification. And at the moment, that's what I'm waiting for. I mean, a lot of players are waiting for that.
Yeah, that's true. It's a little bit unpredictable as to what could happen, but I personally don't see that they would start a new qualification. They might add on the last tournaments that were meant to be part of the qualification that were suspended, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So, Lino, now that you've got basically 1 extra year to prepare for the Olympic Games, what do you think that your main focus will be for the extra year that you've got? Is there a certain part of your game? Is there a certain thing that you can work on that you've been meaning to work on, but maybe you would have ran out of time for if the Olympic Games were this year in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good question. When the tournaments got suspended and sort of like everyone felt that the Olympics were not going to be postponed, obviously, I mean, I got some time to think about everything, if it's still in me to move from my country, to move out of my house again, to pursue this dream. And obviously, I mean, I said to myself, well, you've gone all this way. Why should you stop being in a good position, right? So I sat down, started to think about what was I going to do, because in Denmark, I have a scholarship from the Pan Am Confederation, and I mean, it's up to them if I can go back or not, because it's quite expensive to be at the Center of Excellence. But I guess I would get it. I'm not sure yet, but not depending on that, I would still go for the next Olympics, no matter what. If I don't train in Denmark, I would try to train in another place. But one of my main focus is to have more times on court, to play better matches. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things that I would like to improve in my game. But one of the things that I really, really want and I liked about being in Europe is that you get to play with different style of players, different conditions all the time. Whereas that's something that we don't have in Mexico. In Mexico, we always train with the same guys. Where there's like 4 guys, and we're always training together. We're always playing like nationals and stuff. And then because of the sizes of the country, it's not easy to go to, let's say, I would fly to Canada and then come back the next day whenever I lose. And in being in Europe, that's one of the really handy things, that if you go to a tournament, which is like really close to where you are, you play the tournament, and then the next day you can go back home and start training again and gearing up for the next tournament. So basically here I think also in Oceania, it's not so easy to just go from New Zealand and back and forth. But I mean, in America, it's the same. If you're going to play a tournament in Peru, it's like 6 to 7 hour flight. And then if you have a bad tournament, it's not like so easy to change your ticket and come back, right? So that's one of the things that I really like about being in Europe, that you can play league matches. There's a lot of players playing. A lot of Asians are also coming to the tournaments. And I really need to more hours on court, playing tournaments, getting into this rhythm, which is something that will help me out to raise my game, I think.
Sure. So it sounds like a lot more match play
Yeah.
in itself. Yeah. Match play, not really, you don't need to work on your physical or your strength as a priority, more about getting on court, playing matches, playing different kinds of players so that you can adapt in different conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, no, basically that's one of the things I think I need. Obviously, I have to improve in so many areas. But I think also playing and the essence of the sport is competing.
Mm-hmm.
You need to compete to get better, to recruit. There's so many areas that you cannot recreate whenever you are practicing. So sometimes whenever the pressure kicks in and bad calls and everything, all of these things involved in badminton, whenever you are playing a tournament, these things that you train at the tournaments, So I think I need more exposure in this, more match play, more like wins, more loses. And yeah, so basically I think it's one of the things I need.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Lino, in that although you do try to replicate the matches in training as much as possible, it is difficult to replicate everything. So the environment, the pressure, the different halls with the drift and the wind and the lighting and everything related to that, it is difficult to basically mimic those in training. And I do feel that there is a very big difference between being really good at training and being really good in competition. And I know it's really important to have very high level quality of training when you're on court and you're training, you're practicing certain drills. But then I think there is definitely a gap that needs to be bridged between being a high performer at training and a high performer in the tournaments where the conditions are a little bit different.
No, definitely. That's so true. You need to have that fire to be a competitor. You need to stop being really good at training. Whenever there's no pressure, there's nothing really like you're playing for, and then whenever I've seen players also when I was younger, I think I would play really good at training. And then whenever I had to play a tournament, it was just like, what happened to everything that you practice? And I mean, that's like, I think I would say that a more like junior level that happens. I think like obviously professional players, they have the right tempo to control emotions and conditions also in no matter what or where they're playing. So that's the biggest difference, I guess. Like the best players, even when they have a bad day, they still pull up the match. They still win tournaments. And that's the huge difference. I really like Kento Momota. I mean, not because he's right now the world number one, but I think that when he got banned from the past Olympics and stuff, and then to come back, all the things he had to go through and stuff, even though he had the talent, it was not easy to make. And I think he did a brilliant job, and I would love to play against him one day.
I hope you get that opportunity at some point, Lino. I think Jeff and I are both very big fans of Momota, despite, his suspension. We feel that he's come back a lot stronger than prior to his suspension. And yet the mentality that he brings onto the court and the consistency, despite, being down in a set by, 5 to 10 points, that he could just gain it all back just because he's just so focused and so prepared for that on-court environment that we were talking about just then. So yeah, do hope that you get a chance to play Momota. It'd be great to see.
Yeah, no, it would be nice. And actually, I don't know what you think about, but which player would you choose between 2008 Lindan or Momota right now?
Really hard question.
As in, what do you mean in terms of choosing? Do you mean if I could be as good as them, or?
No, I mean, like, who do you think would win?
Oh, okay.
I've never seen someone move as fast as Lindan in
2008. Yeah, in Beijing. Yeah. I'm going to say Lindan in 2008. I'm going to say that. But it is a little bit skewed because I did watch that game against Chong Wei in the finals and he was just so dominant. Maybe that's a bit skewed because of the score and the way I saw him play. But I'm going to say Lindan 2008 Beijing Olympics.
Yeah. Could be. I don't know. They have just like different styles of play, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly. It's so hard to tell.
What is like controlling the match, he's not attacking all the time, he's just in the shuttle. I mean, obviously he has the technique and the strokes to make it look so easy, obviously, but it would be such an interesting match. And at the Olympic Games, it will be so fun to watch Victor and Momora. I think they will make the final. I mean, hopefully that will be the final.
Maybe you'll see them there too, Lino.
Yeah, definitely. If I make it, yeah, it will be a huge pleasure to be with these guys.
Yeah. And Lino, just to, I guess, move away a little bit from your badminton and being on court and playing, it seems like your passion for sports or badminton is spilled into your working life as well. We did some digging up of what you do, and I think you work as part of an agency called RAG or RAAG.
No, that's the thing is, after the show, I got in contact with an agent. Basically, I work for them whenever there's a campaign about, I don't know, let's say I just did one last week about deodorant. It's called Speed Stick. I don't know if you have it over there, but it's just a deodorant. And I had to do a campaign basically about doing whatever you're passionate about, but from home, doing, because of the coronavirus, all the companies are trying to be creative about like doing things at home. There's been so many things about, I don't know, doing exercise at home, like these online classes about everything, or just people being creative with anything. So basically this agency gets me campaigns, and then I do a campaign for them, and whenever they pay me, so like I give a percentage to them, and then they give a percentage to me. So they're basically in the middle between the company and me.
Fantastic. Well, it seems like a good way to get some more sponsors that are going to help you on your Olympic journey. So, Lino, we are starting to wrap up this podcast episode now, and I want to ask finally by just seeing what were the main things that you've learned in your career so far. So whether that be in your Olympic journey, being at the Rio 2016 Olympics, or just anything you've learned in and out of badminton, what would you say were the biggest learnings for you that someone listening could basically get insights from and to basically experience what you've experienced?
Wow. There's so many things, but what I really feel is that badminton has helped me out to surprise myself. I actually never thought about all the cool things that the sport has given me, in terms of, firstly, I would say in terms of friends and family, people that you never thought you would cross your path, and now they are like family to you. That's without all the emotions that sport has given me, but like friends, family, and like also traveling, seeing a guy from Mexico, going into Malaysia, going into Asia for like 7 months. I would never ever thought about visiting first Asia than Europe, for example. There's things that I cannot wrap my head around it. I was living in upstairs in the badminton hall. There were rooms just upstairs of the courts, and I remember I would sleep hearing somebody hitting the shuttle, and then I was not even awake, and there was people still playing, So there's things that I never thought I would have done, and people I never thought I would have been in my life, and I'm really, really grateful about that. Also, I mean, in terms of competing, in terms of emotions of the sport, I've never felt like so much adrenaline playing a match, or like just, I don't know, whenever you win a tournament or you win a point, there's things that I guess you cannot recreate, or you cannot feel them in any other circumstance. So I would really, whenever like people ask me about like, what would you say to your younger self if you had a chance? And then I would just tell myself to really trust the process, and to don't be afraid to try new things. Really, you never know if it's going to be, it could be also a bad experience, but whenever it's a good experience, then it will stay with you also forever. And I would say that to myself, and then if there's a kid, I don't know, playing badminton or like listening to this, I would tell them to go big, to follow their dreams, and also to not be too cautious about it. It's we only have one life, and then we should be cautious, but try to risk a lot of things.
Yeah, it is that risk and doing things outside your comfort zone that is really going to help you to, do things that you never thought you once could or would. And that just, the notion that you made about going to sleep while you could hear people playing and the shuttles being hit. I've been in that situation when I was in Jakarta and I was training at one of the clubs in Tangkas Bogasari, and I was staying upstairs. And yes, at all hours of the day, all you can hear is shuttles being hit downstairs. It's a funny situation, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is very funny. I mean, I'm coming from a country where some of the kids over here in Mexico, they train with plastic shuttles. Only a few clubs have normal shuttles, the feather shuttles, and listening to the shuttle every day, and there are people having fun all the time. And I mean, you're wrapped around everything. Being part of badminton in Asia is like being a football player over here in Mexico, you know. I remember like I used to go out with my coach, and then, I don't know, he would invite me to a dinner with, like, at that time, we're like cooking Kiet and Tambuhyun and Licho. I mean, Licho was always the best, but when Tambuhyun and Cooking Kiet, I think they just won the All England at that time, because I was there in 2009. I don't, if I'm not mistaken. And just to be around these players, and then people just gathering around them and asking for autographs and stuff. And then you're thinking like, well, this is what a badminton player is like over here, you know? I mean, for me at that time, it was also mind blowing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lino, thanks so much for coming on to this episode of the podcast. Finally, if there are any listeners out there who want to follow how you're going and see what you're doing, see where you are, see where you're training and how your Olympic journey is going, how can they follow you and keep up to date with your progress?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page. It's just like my name is Lino Munoz Badminton. And my Instagram is Lino_789. I post a lot of things over there about not only badminton, about also my life. And I mean, if you want to be part of my journey, just tune in into those applications. And I mean, more than welcome. And I want to thank you guys for inviting me to the podcast. It's been really, really fun. It was actually like my first podcast from in another country, in English. Actually, I've done some podcasts.
Oh wow!
Here in Mexico, but it was nice to be here. And thanks for the opportunity.
No, we really had fun having you on, Lino. So thanks again for being on. And how was it though? How was your first podcast in English? Was it easier, harder, the same as the Spanish ones?
No, I mean, it was fun. Obviously, here with you guys, I actually can talk about, I can talk in badminton terms, right?
Yeah.
It's obviously easier for me and for you guys to sort of like know what we're talking about. You know, whenever I have a podcast in Spanish in Mexico, they have no idea of like who Kenta Momota is, or like,
yeah, true.
Like education, like, or like, I don't know, things like, I don't know, sort of like the stories I told you about, like being a rock star in Malaysia, right? But here it's obviously nice for a chance to talk to people that know about badminton. So yeah, it was fun. Thanks.
Fantastic. So look, for all the listeners out there who have tuned into this episode of the Badminton Podcast, thanks for tuning in. We're going to continue to push you to grow as a player and as a person by telling stories, interviewing players, and talking to people like Lino who have had great experiences that they can basically help you to learn from and to adapt in your lifestyle as well. So if you've enjoyed this episode or any of the other episodes on the podcast, please share them with your friends and family, because we're here to serve, we're here to talk badminton, and we love doing so.
And normally we would say, get out there, train hard, play hard and have fun. Maybe stay inside for now with what's happening around the world, but do find ways to have fun, do find ways to train hard, maybe not necessarily badminton specific, but if you can, then definitely do that. And yeah, share your love of the sport of badminton. You can still do that in the comfort of your own home. And if you want to connect with us, you can connect with us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and TikTok. via our social media handle, VOLANTWEAR, or you can check us out on our website, www.volantwear.com. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any questions, any feedback, or if you just want to come onto the show, just hit us up. We'd love to chat to you, just like we enjoyed our chat with Lino today. So we'll see you all on the very next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in once again.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Lino.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Lino.
Yeah, bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Volant Wear, the most versatile badminton apparel you'll ever own.